When the world looks at Thomas Shelby, they see the ultimate mastermind. They see a ruthless gangster, a self-made billionaire, an untouchable alpha male. Pop culture has crowned him as the perfect Sigma male, a man who needs no one, feels nothing, and dominates every room he enters. But clinical psychology sees something entirely different. Clinical psychology does not see a king. It sees a dead man walking. Today, we are dissecting the high-functioning trauma of Thomas Shelby. We are looking at a man who conquered the world, simply because he was too terrified to sit alone in a quiet room. To understand the mind of Thomas Shelby, you have to realize that the man you see on screen is merely a ghost. The real Thomas Shelby, the man who laughed, who loved, who believed in a future, died in the underground clay tunnels of France during World War I. The man who returned to Birmingham is a hollow shell, suffering from extreme, untreated, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. To understand his pathology, we must first look at the environment that broke him. In the war, Tommy was a clay kicker. His job was to dig claustrophobic, pitch-black tunnels directly underneath enemy lines. He lived in the dirt, surrounded by the constant, suffocating sound of enemy shovels digging right back toward him. When a normal human mind experiences this level of absolute terror, it shatters. People break down, they freeze, they become paralyzed by the trauma. But Tommy's brain executed a terrifying and extreme survival mechanism. Severe emotional dissociation. Dissociation is the mind's way of pulling the plug. When the pain becomes too immense to process, the brain completely amputates its own capacity to feel. Tommy didn't just bury his emotions. He actively convinced himself that he had died in France. If you listen to him speak, he constantly refers to himself as a man who is living on borrowed time. This is not a metaphor. Clinically, this is a symptom of psychological necrobiosis, the belief that you are already a corpse, and this makes him incredibly dangerous. Because how do you threaten a man who has already accepted his own death? You cannot intimidate him. You cannot leverage fear against him, because the worst thing that could ever happen to Thomas Shelby has already happened. This brings us to his relentless, almost suicidal ambition. People think Tommy Shelby is driven by greed, money, or a desire for absolute power. But from a psychological standpoint, his ambition is not a goal. It is a psychological anesthetic. He is self-medicating through chaos. Think about the clinical definition of PTSD. It involves severe hypervigilance. The brain's threat detection system is permanently stuck in overdrive. Tommy's brain is screaming at him that he is still in a war zone. So, what does he do? He creates a war zone in his real life to match the one inside his head. As long as his mind is occupied with expanding the Peaky Blinders, fighting rival gangs, plotting assassinations, and outsmarting politicians, he doesn't have to hear the shovels. Scraping in the walls, he replaces the adrenaline of the trenches with the adrenaline of the criminal underworld. This is a textbook case of maladaptive coping. He is running on a treadmill of trauma. If he stops moving, the memories catch up. If he stops fighting, the silence deafens him. So he builds an empire, but he isn't building it to rule the world. He is building it to distract himself from his own mind, because his brain is locked in this permanent state of fight or flight. Tommy is completely incapable of healthy human connection. Every relationship he builds is poisoned by paranoia. He loves his family, Arthur, Polly, Ada, but he treats them like soldiers in a platoon rather than relatives. He manipulates them, tests their loyalty, and constantly calculates their usefulness. This is rooted in avoidant attachment style, heavily modified by his trauma. When you lose everyone you care about in the mud of France, your brain learns a very dark lesson. Intimacy is a liability. Love gets you killed. Even his relationship with Grace, The one woman who managed to penetrate his armor becomes a tragic psychological trigger. When Grace dies, Tommy's final tether to his own humanity snaps. He internalizes her death as proof that the universe will punish him for trying to feel alive. From that moment on, his emotional isolation becomes absolute. He locks the door from the inside and throws away the key. But a mind cannot run from its own trauma forever. The human body keeps the score. This is why Tommy is plagued by severe insomnia and substance abuse. That opium and Irish whiskey are not just vices for him. They are his medication. They are the only things capable of slowing down his hyperactive brain. Without the substances, he experiences intense visual and auditory hallucinations. The ghost of Grace. The sounds of the tunnels. These are clinical, intrusive thoughts and flashbacks. He is terrified of sleep because sleep is the only time he loses control of the narrative. And he is terrified of the silence because in the silence, there are no enemies left to shoot. There are no deals left to make. In the silence, it is just Thomas Shelby and his own monstrous reflection. As the series progresses into its final acts, we see the cracks widening into chasms. The ambition isn't enough anymore. The money means nothing. The enemies are all defeated, and yet, the more inside his head rages on. He attempts to find meaning in politics, in socialism, in fighting fascism. But even these noble pursuits are just another layer of armor to keep the abyss at bay. Thomas Shelby is not a symbol of strength. He is not a role model for masculinity. He is a tragic, horrifying case study of what happens when massive psychological trauma is left to fester in the dark. He built a dynasty, but he built it on top of his own grave. He is the undisputed king of Birmingham, but he will always be a prisoner in the dark, claustrophobic tunnels of his own mind. This is the MindOcalypse. Subscribe to dissect the next mind.